We took a walk this morning all around Huntsville and really was surprised. It was so beautiful and everything was so centrally located. We went and got a little snack.
Well, we think it was central. We don't know the town that well.
Well, we didn't make a school, we went back. So, to the place we were staying, I
Some
won't.
beautiful old mansions. If you're from out of town, you stay over. It's pretty stuff. So does anybody have questions to start us off, or what do you want to know? Questions? Yeah. Right, we'll start with you.
So, lots of accidents. Was there ever a time that there was an actual accident?
Was there ever an actual
accident?
It's so hard to remember that.
Jonathan French is being disrupted. So we have Gregorian chants going on. Oh my God.
That would be
Dragons. I'll tell you what, the last season, we did this thing where we were off on location somewhere and we had this bus that we were all traveling on within the show. And it was actually Tim's bus. And he like comes bounding up and he hits his head on the cabinet that's right there at the end. And that's the biggest accident there ever was. You know, Tim
Shocking.
in his own bus hitting his head. You know, but yeah. Well, everything else was choreographed or thought out, and if anything got too weird, we would have a stunt person. You know, and I remember distinctly saying, you know, I can do this. They go, no, you can't do it. There's insurance involved like that. All I'm doing is falling on the ground. Yeah, well, you can't do that. You know, so when we blew up the house, I think you saw us go like that, and then they went to our stunt person.
Had a turtle.
The what? Oh, the turtle. Scooter. I did my own stunt. I did my own stunt, and this is amazing because we did it in the middle of the summer in Los Angeles, you know, in Burbank, and it was 116 degrees out. And we're out at the Warner Ranch, and the Warner Ranch is where they, you know, Bewitched was filmed there, Lethal Weapon was, and all these different shows were filmed there. And we had this bit where Tim sits on a 2x4 and flips this turtle that I'm supposed to be house sitting, a turtle sitting, up in the air, and I go Scooter to catch it, and then fall into like wet cement.
My favorite episode.
One take.
Crazy.
Warren, our prop master, he, you know, we kind of like practice this a little bit like that, and then there's this action, and it's like kind of fell into the thing. The camera's like right there, and I could hear the whole crew go, "Oh, thank God!" Because they would have had, you know, an hour wait for me to go get changed and showered and stuff like that. But we did it one take.
We did have, like, when we were in Kern River and we were coming down the rapids, we had to actually ride number 5 rapids, and we didn't know, and they said, well, we've got strings and we've got tethers and we've got them, you know, all the way down. And so, do you remember that?
Somebody fell out.
3 of us fell out, me, Tim, and Earl. And I just remember seeing Tim as I was going backwards and reaching over and grabbing him, and he's going, like, it happened so fast. And Earl was the first one to be caught. I don't know if they got him first, but it's very scary when you're going back with, you know, backwards down some rapids that you have no idea. It's so hard to turn around. And that was kind of exciting. I don't think we did it again after that.
No, I knew how to stay in the boat. Yeah, I listened.
It was a complete accident. It wasn't meant, you know, but we hit something and the 3 of us in the front were out. So that was exciting.
So I actually have an official question, I guess.
Can you wait for a minute?
Sure,
Just
absolutely.
kidding. I'm just kidding.
Like there are official and unofficial.
Yeah, well, just the moderator. Just kind of just like what people were thinking of pleasant. I was, that's what they hired me. I'm bad at it. That's work. I was family. Yeah, for 3 years. Yeah, very nice. So, is it true that you failed out of home improvement for traffic school?
Yes.
Can you tell that story?
Yes. Traffic school. Is anyone here old enough to remember traffic school? Okay, well, you couldn't do it online. There was no online. You had 8 hours that you had to go to a traffic school for 8 hours
Listen to Wikipedia.
and listen to somebody talk about, stuff. And I learned interesting things. I mean, there's like 2 things that can fall out of a moving vehicle. Anybody know what they are?
Ice?
Water. Chicken feathers. Just saying. But I sat next to this woman who turned out to be an agent. We got talking about the people, with breaks, talking about the people we knew in the business. And she goes, "Oh, well, these guys are doing a show. They're casting a sitcom. They didn't call me. Why didn't they call me?" So I called David. I said, "David, here you guys doing a show." They go, "Oh, but there's nothing for you. We thought about you, but you're too much like Tim. You're the same height, your sensibilities are very, very similar. And we've always cast, you should learn from these guys." They're like cheering and screaming. In your face, Jonathan! But I called them up and they said, "There's nothing for you. We've already cast it. The part that you could be for Tim's assistant, Glenn." And we cast it with Stephen Topolowski. He was the life insurance salesman in Groundhog Day. So very different, taller than Tim, older than Tim. And I understood that, but they said, "Come in and audition anyway, because you can meet our casting director." So I go in. I know Matt, David, and Carmen. I know the director from something I did in New York 10 years before. And everybody in the room with the casting director did my scene. They laughed. I went away. I thought, well, did my job. And then, like a couple weeks later, I got a call from Carmen and he says, "You still got that beard?" I go, "I do." "Well, Stephen got a movie and we might need you to take his place for the pilot." And I'm going, "And the downside would be?" And he's going, "Well, it would just be the pilot. It wouldn't be, if the show gets picked up, you wouldn't go with it." And I go, "I can live with that. That's cool. I don't have a pilot on my resume or, on my reel or whatever." And I did the pilot and 10 days of rehearsal. It was the most amazing thing. I was like, when a show is good. Even though all my earlier work had been theater, when something works, when something clicks. I'm going, "Oh, these guys are going to have the best time." I mean, Tim's funny. They replaced Pat, the wife Pat, after 3 days of rehearsal with Frances Fisher.
Other way around.
No, they replaced Frances Fisher with Pat. Frances Fisher was the mother in Titanic. She was the mother for the first 3 days of rehearsal, and then it didn't work. And whatever. Yeah, but then I got the job because of traffic school, and that agent lived down the corner where I got that ticket. I'm just saying, there are more things in heaven and earth than Horatio. But you have an interesting story how you got cast. Yeah, don't say okay. What don't say.
Like 6
Younger.
Oh,
I understand.
I mean, we could. I just feel like we're more. I don't. Wasn't even my question, but I'll let you know. I was on the show when it's called Overact. It's not supposed to. When he's not supposed to see other women or look at other women, makes his wife that like that. So we met when I filmed the Kiki on first of all, and I asked her. So that was my 1 week on the show. That was the first season. And then Pamela was leaving in the second season, and they put out a breakdown WWE type, but not WWE. So I had to show up for 2 weeks. And then, well, you have a little part of this, right?
I had a small part, but it's funny because the creators were looking for a girl next door. After Pam Anderson. Pam Anderson was kind of the girl next door, but she was also a Playboy playmate. So there was a thing there for them, but they wanted somebody that was like the girl next door. And Tim wanted somebody that could be on a Tool poster. You know, because it's Tool time. And that makes perfect sense. But they never talked to each other. For whatever reason, they were like, they would bring in these people and they say no, and Tim would go, what? Yeah. And then finally, you know, when I heard of Debbie, I said, well, Debbie's kind of both. Maybe you should get her in.
So my agent, I just had an agent at the time, I on the meeting and said that actually they would be called again and see if you were available to come in. And I said, what is it about? Because I did have improvement, but I only did the one show. Emma wasn't on when I was on, so I didn't know what the part was. I had not seen any of the shows except for my one. So I didn't know. I was just like, okay, I'm going to introduce the show. They said, just tell me the way you were. I was like, okay. So I think I did a little bit more dress that I wore in that particular episode. And I literally.
It's the Va-Va Boom dress,
I still have it.
which was not Girl Next Door.
No, I didn't get those notes. All I was told, and the casting girl was on her. So you become like you were all week, but you become like you were for the characters. So that's how I took it. Anyway, I went in, she said she was not going to see me like that. And I mean, I really wanted to be seen. So I just sat there and I'll just wait. She just kept looking at me. So she finally told her, the Debbie Dunning came back. And she wants to be seen. She's going to wait. And I know her. So I came in and I said, I'm so sorry. I have no idea. Everybody waiting and towards and sure attention. So I was super. I know I did it now. I ended up leaving and I did not get a call back, but I saw the wall that it said 2:15 callbacks tomorrow. And I waited and waited and I was like, I'm just gonna go. So I talked to my way through the guard day. I was on the list. I told her I was on the list. So I did it again and I waited. And she's like, we have 2 callbacks one more time. So again, and it was so bad. It's like I was so aggressively eager to get this one more week of work. That was it. That's all I thought it was going to be. So I did the same thing. I sat there, and you know, I don't know if she liked it or she did. It seemed like she liked it at the time. But right after the girl came out, she went in between each callback to hang on to them or release them. So then I went in right after because she knew I wasn't going to leave. And I was in there for a good amount of time and super stoked. So made it back. And because I had to think with these guys, and you know, like you see us, we're super fun, just like family. So I went back in and had a great conversation, and I did it, and came back out, and I sat there, and she went in after me, and she came back out. And she literally stood up and said, "Okay, I get busy." That's all she said. She stood up and she dismissed the rest of the group that had an audition. So we're really busy. Yeah, it's the best thing though. You don't put yourself out for 100%. You know, how do you know? Oh, Spider-Man.
Spider-Boy.
So we have any questions? Like the stand right here on the microphone if anybody has any questions.
Yes, I do. Again, that is probably the line that got me the job. When I was filling in for Stephen, I did the pilot, and then they called me after about a month and a half, because we did it in April, and the show was going to go back into production in July. And it got picked up, and it got picked up big time. I mean, they got, you know, it was like #1 on the list with all advertisers. It was a family show. It was a family-friendly advertising show, and with all those boxes checked. And I get a call saying, "We want you for the first couple of episodes." And I'm going, "Really? Great!" Because I'll tell you what, my wife is pregnant. We need to pay the doctor. And I came in and did the first episode, the second episode, and then somewhere around the third, fourth episode, I it's foggy. I can't even go back and watch the episodes of how it transposed, how it all happened. But I was there, and I know why I was there. I was filling in, so I was just, you know, throwing up these giant balls for Tim to hit out of the park. You know, set him up for jokes and not do anything, not trying to steal scenes. But I would get my laughs. You know, there was a lot of atmospheric stuff that Al would do in the background, or looks and things like that. And Tim had some line like, "Hey, Al, you think they call it molding because it's been in the refrigerator too long?" And you know, that wasn't a big joke, but I let the audience laugh. You know, and I didn't try to do anything. I just kind of like looked at him, and not even thinking that I'm looking at him with disdain. It was just like, you know, I wasn't doing anything. I was letting him have that line, that laugh. And then just as I'm about to say my next line, it's a laugh of me just looking at Tim. And I went, well, I didn't mean to do that on purpose. I'm not milking the scene or anything like that. I'm not trying to get any more than there's there, but there was a laugh, so I'm like, okay, there's a laugh, that's good. And then I went, I don't think so, Tim. And that got a big laugh. And all day long, the writers would walk by me and they go, "You did yourself a favor there." And I got 2 lines. I had like 2 lines, and one of them was, "I don't think so." And that moment, them watching Tim and I and watching the audience reflect off of us, because they didn't know who we were yet. We hadn't premiered. So they don't know who those characters are necessarily. It's just a raw play. It's just that. And they were laughing at what Tim and I, our charisma relationship was. And that was good enough for the writers. They went, you know what? We know how to write this. We now know who these guys are. We can write for this. So in a kind of a cool way, I was able to create my character with the writers instead of just take the writing that was already there and mold it into me. So I got both sides of that wonderful coin.
Other questions?
Well, there was going to be a crossover with Harry's Hardware. They thought about doing a spin-off of Harry's Hardware, and you know, Harry and Al is now part owner. And they were thinking of doing that, but there was this little thing with the producers that were in a lawsuit. And you know, bottom line is always a weird thing in our industry. But when the show started, Wind Dancer, which was Matt, David, and Carmen, created the show with Buena Vista Television, which was the TV arm of Disney. And the 2 producers sold the show to ABC. About 2 years into our show, Disney bought ABC. So now they want to sell the show to themselves for less. And Wind Dancer, we can get more. We can take this to NBC. This is a big hit. And that's when the lawsuit happened. So all the spin-off and stuff ideas just kind of didn't go anywhere because they were still going back and forth about who's right. But I don't know, what kind of a spin-off would you like?
Oh, I tell them all the time. I think it should be Heidi with her daughter. She's a single mom. You still doing,
Single dad.
but you could be a single dad, and you could be like every woman in the neighborhood is part of the He's always going over there and they're like, having their fun, coming up with reasons for him to come fix it, right? I mean, let's see what let's bring something.
I like that idea.
I mean, I think he's very good at it. And then, you know, of course, Tim would be the grandfather of 3 children. I'm sure they have to be 3 grandkids. That's because, I don't know, I thought the 3 of us could do it. Like, I know that everybody wants the whole thing, and that's a lot. I'm like, I get this request, because absolutely do something.
Yeah, we could be down the street from Last Man Standing.
Or you could always have, we're neighbors, and there's always that little flirty thing.
Yeah. Well, there was an episode, because I'm rewatching the show again for the first time in 30 years, which is, when you watch yourself, it's hard to do, especially right after you've just filmed it. Because all the things you thought you were doing might not show up in what you were doing, or something got edited, and you don't watch it in a real hit. But 30 years later, you're going, you forgot everything else, and now you're just laughing at the show and enjoying it. But there was an episode where Al was like Bachelor of the Month in Detroit, right? And all these women came to Tool Time, and this one woman gets up, and we're talking about windows, and she goes, "What kind of windows would Al like?" And I realized that it was, what's her name?
I don't remember.
She was on Elementary. Lucy Liu. It was Lucy Liu before she was Lucy Liu. It was young Lucy Liu.
But what did he like?
She liked it. I can see that crossover. Other questions? All right.
When the show ended, were y'all allowed to take any of the props or costumes and keep any of the stuff from the show?
Tim bought a whole entire set. The whole entire thing, yeah. My best friend became a nursery to my daughter, who was born on the show. We weren't really allowed to take anything, and I think we probably could have bring it back to the camera. I don't know. I think that what you thought you had in your room is that it's not.
No. Well, Tim actually took the Tool Time set. He has it in his warehouse next to his set from Last Man Standing. He just collects sets along with cars. But I took my tool belt, which was kind of cool because they had taken my first tool belt. Disney took my first tool belt after the first season. I come back for the second season, my tool belt is gone. I had worked it out so there was a rib here, there was things here. It was like a really cool, and it wasn't even really a tool belt. It was painter's apron. And they took it and put it in a glass box in Orlando. So they had the first year tool belt, but I had the next 7 years tool belt. And then as far as costumes were concerned, they didn't know what to do with like a plaid jacket. They said, "Would you like that?" Oh, yes, I want a plaid dinner jacket, satin collar, and then they had some plaid shoes. I got those. I wear those every Christmas. But there's not a lot of times you can wear plaid shoes, but I do. What else?
Disney hangs on to their wardrobe,
And I don't know why, but they rent it, they still make money on the wardrobe. But people do want to use it again. They didn't get rid of anything. I mean, I would have probably, 4 or 5 pairs of Timberland, and I do have the ones that I wear all the time. The ones I wear today are a little different, but yeah, I have that. There wasn't like a lot you could take clothes-wise. So if you have either make them or face makes you for kids, you can have extra one. I mean, we had some beautiful work on that show. I mean, some of the Halloween and some
Yeah, definitely stuff we didn't try.
no, they would have been really sure.
But I have like 3 or 4 plaid shirts from the first.
Don't you think that he should come up with his own line of shirts? He's very tiny. I'm trying to push him.
Well, the whole plaid shirt thing came out when I got cast, and I go into costumes, and they put me in a Ralph Lauren plaid shirt, and it was Ralph Lauren is like fitted, and it's nice. It's like $160 back in the early '90s. That's a lot of money for a plaid shirt.
I go, let's just go to Eddie Bauer or maybe the Gap. They have really nice plaid shirts and they're more comfortable and they're brighter. They're a lot more fun. And they go, really? Yeah, and they're only $25. So I made that big change over. Otherwise, I would have been in like Ralph Lauren plaid shirts. It wouldn't have been right. It wouldn't have been out.
It wouldn't
It wouldn't have been out. But I don't know where I was going with that. But yeah, if I came up with a plaid shirt business. Somebody sent me a picture. There's a company out there that makes Orland plaid shirts. Yeah, and they got a bunch of models that look like me.
No.
Younger, but kind of look like me. Yeah.
Other question? Here.
Can't hear you. Watch do stand up while we're working on it.
One of the times that everybody had to be running was so hard. I didn't really know who Tim Allen was when I got the job, and I just knew that, this was the family, each other, and it was great. I had no idea who he was until I went to one of the stand-ups. We didn't have the internet and all that back then, where you could just really, really quick and say it.
I had seen the Men Are Pigs tour on Showtime, and I remember thinking that that's really funny. So that's who that guy is. But then he invited us to go to the Universal Amphitheater. He was performing at the Universal Amphitheater, and after being around him, knowing him as just a regular person and as a performer working next to him, watching him on stage was like, oh, this is a whole new persona that I don't know about, because he had a suit on and he was like, taking charge. He'd been selling out 10,000 arenas for a few years. So he's very comfortable in that venue, and watching him do that and work an audience was very impressive. So it was kind of fun to see that side of it. You're around him and you go, oh, you can do that. That's cool.
It's not like he walks around doing stand-up all day.
Yes, he does. He walks around. He will practice stuff on you all day long. He'll come in with a joke in the morning. It's not that funny. He will noodle that joke all day long until you're laughing at 5 o'clock.
That's true.
Question over here. Well, because I am an actor, and I didn't realize even the littlest things we do have repercussions that are going to last for 8 seasons. I early on kind of made Al very inept around women, and the writers loved that. And I was just going for a joke. I was like, I wasn't trying to form a 7-year arc with Al and female sex, but that's what happened. And if I had had another show or another experience like this under my belt, I might have played things differently. And you can't go back, because if I played things differently, it might not have been as good. It certainly would have been different. But you can't do regrets. You really can't. I mean, if everybody had a time machine, we would be screwed. Nothing would work. Everybody would go back and fix something, and then your thing would work. I don't know.
Maybe come on, speak.
My question is for Richard. So when Tim makes fun of your name, what was his favorite name?
Well, there were a lot of them. I'll be home for Christmas. It's what? This land is more land, yeah. Yeah, and then he would make fun of my mother. You know, and my mother was actually too large to actually have on television. So she was always on stage. And I think they showed one episode of her hands. And it was some guy that had giant hands, you know, tearing a dinner roll apart. But my parents, or my dad, because my mom had passed before home improvement started. But all of my dad's friends from college or whatever, they would call him and go, "You tell Disney to stop making fun of Louise." That is not Rick's mom. Rick's mom was so wonderful. You just tell them to stop doing that, you know. They really love to go down there, yeah. All right. Other questions, right here.
We've seen a lot of shows that you're in front and, a lot of concepts and stuff. So, the actors together, we all together as a group. I think, Rick and I see each other quite a bit. We see Tim, and they all together and they still hang out. They've done a couple shows prior to today. They were working on, but we might see Tim a couple times a year. We're going to see him in May. Lopez. When the three of us always get together, I think I always grab our picture. Sometimes Rick takes the things with all. He says nobody's really going to be there to show that.
And then he has fun, you know.
But yeah, he's not as much into the big crowds unless he's standing up here, you know.
Well, if it's a golf event, he's a little, you know, touchy if he's not that good, you know, because he wants to be good in front of everybody. But it's like, come on, it's golf. Everybody's going to screw up. But he will not stop talking. You're in your backswing, you're over. He's still working out, you know, some line that he's going to use in his act next week. I don't know. He's always talking, and he loves to discuss politics now. I think, you know, the whole divisiveness of the country with politics is his, you know, it's his milieu. He loves that. He just loves needling people. You know, what do you think about this, like that, and you know, that's him. You know, you just gotta. When we did the show, the History Channel, he would be on me about certain stuff. You know, we were just about to start and go. So, you know, I think they really should sweep the forests. And action. And I'm like, and the producers, you know, in my ear, they're going, "I can't believe you. I don't know how you keep up with this. I don't know how you stand working next. Somebody's going to do that to you." And I go, And I literally, one day, I said, "Tim, I got to walk away. I had to walk away. I'll see you in 15 minutes. And I came back, and he was like, "Oh, God, Richard, thank you. Thank you for doing that. You know, because I can't do that with my wife. If we're having an argument, I can't go, I will see you in 10 minutes. I can't do that. But, you know, with us, we can do that, and we're still friends. You know, so there is that." Over here.
So I grew up in Michigan, so it's really cool seeing graduate course in Michigan as well. Do you guys ever get a chance to go to Detroit?
You guys did. That was one show I missed, but you did.
When we went up, we went up to Traverse City. And I don't know if I should tell this story.
Yes.
Okay, you can't film this. Hands down.
They're filming it.
Okay. So the last season we go to Traverse City. We take the cat.
the biggest adjustment between the theater acting and the television?
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
Size. Television, you can be television and film, you can be way more natural. You know, you bring it down a little bit, but we still had an audience. So I had a nice kind of bridge, learning curve bridge, because we had to play to the audience. So there was that, the full-time audience. But then, you know, in the scenes when I'm not there or whatever, it's just you have to be a little more real or whatever. You know, with microphones and camera and everything, it's like Broadway has changed. Broadway, you used to have to make the back of the room. And if you told a joke, you had to tell the last person has to hear that joke. And now they're mic'd and they can tell the joke really good as they're walking off the stage with their back to the audience. And it gets a big laugh. And that's a very different, it's a hybrid theater. It's different. But the biggest adjustment was just hitting your mark. And realizing that lines can be changed. You know, it's like in theater, the script is set. The script is Shakespeare. The script is Neil Simon. You don't mess around with the script. And in television, I learned you can change stuff. I'm watching all these people change stuff and going, oh, God. And you know, with great power comes great responsibility. You have to know when to change something or not. So that was a big thing to learn, was how to deal with asking for something that you want that isn't necessarily in that line or in that script, in that scene. You can change the scene a little bit, which was kind of, you know, empowering.
How about you? Did you ever find you had to do anything different? You hadn't done a lot of theater.
I'm not from theater. I mean, I did plays in school, in high school, but I wasn't from that. But I do remember doing plays in high school and having to be louder. And I do remember Andy Vita saying, "You really speak quietly. You need to hear your voice. We need to hear your voice." And it wasn't comfortable for me, but I got there. It's just hard when you start off more of a speaker naturally. So, you know, you adjust to get better.
And I'm a loudspeaker.
Yeah, I think might be a little bit better.
You know,
I'm a little bit louder now. Now that my phone changes a lot of stuff. You big pictures you didn't think you had.
well, sadly, we have come to the end of our time. So give it up for Richard and Debbe. Thank you so much. Get autographs and photos up at the celebrity area. Thank you so much for joining us. Give it up. All right.
We are going to come, let us know. We want to make sure we get everybody, nobody's left behind. I'm going to be here tomorrow.
Complete nerve authority.